Milton.
Thank you. He's not even talking to you.
That ain't gonna let you start hurting yourself. You'll start probably gonna say, do that. Man, you doing good tonight?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I don't know, that's a mean color, man.
So do you see the system?
Just spread it out. One's in North Carolina, 30.
So my daughter is the one, so her husband be on, they both of them, with him. She's a lawyer there in North Carolina.
Okay.
He's what part? Charlotte. He's a, yeah, he, in the other words, Comcast, he's a mathematician, whatever, you know, this stuff, so. Little's daughter is in Memphis. She's a school teacher. She be on listening, and you got several of them, one from New York or something. Yeah, so all over. Yeah. So yeah, and they share with other young adults, so they jump on. Group meetings. So I stream it live on my YouTube channel. So I send it back to you.
Okay, great, thank you, appreciate it.
The one that I grew up in the house with, my older brother, he didn't start right now. He didn't grab me something.
It's still like now.
Right around the corner. This is him. Can you get that?
Pretty long day.
Pretty long. It's pretty long.
Yeah, we just went to Aisha's track meet.
Okay.
She's getting better.
Okay.
She runs the 100 and 200.
Oh, she's a sprinter then.
She's a sprinter, but she ain't fast.
She ain't bad.
What grade?
Getting fast.
What grade?
9.
That's great. My daughters ran track. They were 100, 200, 400.
Are they 100, 200? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
mine ran track, yeah. Well, no, they didn't run 100, they ran the 200 and 400.
240.
Yeah, in the relays. Yeah, I think they only allowed you to do 4 events, you know.
That's what I'm trying to convince her to run is the 400 because her stride
Yeah,
really great.
okay.
But to be a sprinter, you got to be different.
Yeah.
There's a girl that ran 12.3.
Wow.
She's 15.8. So,
Well, she's got room to.
yeah. And that girl's a
And
nice.
sometimes it's different getting out of the blocks too.
It is. That's what she's working on as well.
Yeah,
Her times are faster now that she comes out of the block.
okay,
But still, one of those things, she has to build that comfort with it.
right.
Yeah, because she almost fell the first time, so kind of.
Just getting out of the blocks, yeah.
But she likes it. She likes it a lot.
That's good. Which school?
Spartan.
Okay, good deal.
She plays tennis too.
Wow.
So that was her first thing. So she actually had a tennis game today, tennis match today, but she tracked
Just
her.
practice day. Yeah, I remember back when my kids, gonna laugh at this, back when my kids were in school, they used to run, have you heard of the barn over in Hartsel?
The barn.
The barn. Yeah, they used to run in the barn and they had an old wooden track. It was probably about 40 or 50 years old. They just ran. Yeah, and now they built an indoor track there. And,
No, she had
set this wooden track up over in a place called.
So believe it or not, you guys be stuck.
Yeah.
So you said they still have that, or they used Yeah, no, she didn't run into. She didn't know if she wanted to do track, because like I don't know crap about it. Like I wouldn't learn to kind of communicate with them about it later. I may be washed up, but this ain't. Like this ain't it. It's a lot more. That's one of the most difficult sports I've ever played because I realized every micro
Exactly.
has to become complete second nature. played with. Like she was extremely athletic. She got beat by a girl that was extremely
She's
slow,
old though. Just like
not super coordinated, but was very active. If she
They
can
do
get
what it
here, get the racket to touch the ball, it's going exactly where she wants it. It's not going to be where you are.
Yes.
She had her left and right. It's all about like,
I don't know if you're complimented or insult, but I'll take it.
she hasn't been here. She played her
Give me
career.
both.
Yeah. So I realized tennis, I was like, you gotta spend way more time on your own than just, oh, I go to practice and now you got matches. No, this is something you have to do every single day. Kind of like playing an instrument. You gotta really get down and play it for real.
My wife loved tennis. She was
Yeah.
She had listened to it.
You going back?
She was
Okay.
loving it.
Tennis is old, bro.
Yeah, our girls were playing here. I was on vacation. And they were hitting the ball, and I was hitting the back. And all of a sudden, hit one of my wife, and she found it, came across it.
So you say more? Oh, you ain't got any trouble.
I was like, sorry.
And then we tried more and more shots. She corrected 4 more, so she's 0.03, no, 0.07 milliseconds faster. Wow.
Yeah.
And don't worry about what place you come in.
Yeah.
Beat your time from last time.
Right, that's right.
You beat your time over again, and you get back.
All right, Miss Kay,
I expect you to go do 12 seconds like the other girls.
what was able to today?
They didn't, well, I had to work at the boutique, so they don't
And if
like
she
to
has
sit up
stamina,
there.
I don't know what stamina is like, because she's sprinting. But if she has stamina, I promise, like her stride, she can run before her.
Probably 400, maybe 800. Because she went to 800. Yeah, a lot of times they have a run across the country. That gets your stamina up. You know, you get your stride. And then you get ready to get out the door.
Yeah.
You know what you have.
There's these two freshmen, twins. They went to Hazelwood. 2 black boys. They look like identical. I cannot tell which one was that one, but they ran the miles, laps, and his brother got third. They're short of that. You can talk about. Me and this other guy watching. Just don't take off. It's not been the freshman track. It's on the first track. And I've not seen him ever since. But he more than likely him in the past.
So she
in the top 10.
Wow.
So one got like 201 in the 800 freshman. That's very strong. He got I think it's like a 4:40 mile. Yeah. I guess not even fair. That's
Hey, how are you?
just like
That's an engineer too.
You're an engineer. I want to be singing to the choir, all these engineers.
It's just a few of us. It's just a few of us.
Y'all got to call me out.
I wish I'd ran it sooner. Because I would have never played football again.
About 3 minutes when we start. I know.
No hurry.
You guys got the varsity.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Zoe. So I was on a Zoom call with your boss's boss, with Dr. Talley.
Dr. Sally,
Mhm.
how'd that go?
It was an in and cluster board meeting. It was good. It was Yvette Clay's meeting. I played a board meeting.
Yes.
Miss Yvette, she's over career development, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know her?
She was over the National Society of Leadership and Success.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was at ENL.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. When she first got here, we started an internship with Alabama A&M and a girl named Sade, worked for Audrey, worked in HR. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know her because she came from Chicago. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I'm glad she beat me. I don't know why I said 15.9.
She's a nice lady.
She
But I'm making
is,
sure I'm
she's
looking
very
for
nice.
time for our first debate. I went to the
Okay, those who are watching, we're gonna get started in 3 minutes. I'm sorry I can't give you no food, but it's pretty good. See CJ on. CJ, Dr. Audrey said drive on over. Well, I'm glad the time is changing and the days are longer.
Yeah, same here.
I don't like those short days. 5 o'clock is dark. Yeah. Mhm. She's not even here. She's a medical doctor, though. We invited a few over 40.
Oh, she's on day
I know.
never mind.
I told Oh, yeah.
Okay, good evening. Good evening. How's everybody doing today? Tonight, I should say. Good. Well, hope you got something to eat. If not, get something. And y'all know where the restroom's at. And good to see everybody this month. And we have a treat this month. A great man and man of God, but businessman. I'm gonna read his bio. And we're privileged to have him tonight speaking with us. Drove all the way from Birmingham to be with you all tonight. And he ain't let me know what my tab is, so I don't know how much and I so appreciate that. I was telling him, busy he is in his position and what he does. For him to drive from Birmingham to speak to our group is it's a great thing, and we appreciate it. So his name is Milton Arthur Davis, professional engineer, PE. But Milton is the vice president of economic development for Glayco. A fully integrated real estate development, master planning, architectural, engineering, and constructional company. His responsibilities include market analysis, sales, strategic planning, client presentations, risk analysis, and contract negotiations. Milton has previous experience in operations, project management, control systems, and engineering design. Milton is a registered professional engineer who graduated from the University of Alabama with a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. Roll Tide. Later, he earned an MBA from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, UAB, and also completed the construction management program at Texas A&M University. Milton is the past chair of the Board of Trustees for the Alabama Community College System. And I know you know Crystal Brown and all them.
Yeah, I know Crystal.
He currently serves on the University of Alabama Engineering Leadership Board, McWane Science Center Board, and the Judge Frank Johnson Institute Board. In February of 2023, Milton was inducted into the state of Alabama's Engineering Hall of Fame. Yeah, absolutely. He is married to Alpha and has 2 wonderful daughters. And so he's going to present to us. It's open discussion. So we got a question, ask him questions. I'll be kind of pricking him, asking questions. But without further ado, let's put our hands together. Table tonight for Milton Davis.
All right, well, I'm just glad to be here. Anytime I have a chance to talk and talk about engineering, talk about construction, I just jump on the opportunity. And as I tell you about my story, I didn't have anyone really telling me about engineering. So that's one reason I'm so passionate about letting others know about engineering and construction opportunities out there. So I'm going to talk about my journey, what I do, tell you a little bit about our company for you engineers that are here. I know you don't want to, but you engineers, you might want to join our company. So I'm always recruiting. And then just talk about things that I think or traits that I think that you need to be successful, and although I have a presentation, let's make it interactive. You have a question, just, yell at me, throw at me, ask a question. Just, again, I don't want to just sit up here and talk. And I know Doc Rock's going to have some questions he's going to throw at me. So I'll just jump right on into it. There we go. And just talk about my journey. And I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama, attended a small Catholic school called St. Jude High School. And there were only like 53 in my graduating class. And when I finished school, we had priests and nuns that were our guidance counselors. And although I loved math and science, they said I should be a social worker. And I said, that's odd, and nothing's wrong with social work, but I said, I like math and science, but they didn't know. And then in my neighborhood, I was telling Doc Rock, we didn't know we were poor. We had everything we wanted, and everybody, came together. We had food to eat, but there was no one in my neighborhood that was an engineer. There was no exposure to engineering. We had educators, we had a mechanic, we had postal workers, just different types of careers, but no one really in engineering. So, I enrolled in that major called undecided, and the universities will take your money, you can be undecided, as long as you're paying that tuition, they say they care, but, I don't know about that. But anyway, I had that undecided, undeclared major. And when I was there after my first semester, I had the opportunity to visit NSBE. NSBE is National Society of Black Engineers, and they had tables set up right on campus talking about their organization, and then other organizations were talking about their various groups. And so when I met with the NSBE students, I asked them, what is engineering? And he told me what engineering was all about. And I said, okay, I can use my math that I love. I can use the science that I love. And I said, well, maybe this is the career for me. And so I ended up choosing engineering. You said, why did I choose chemical engineering? This is how naive I was. I said, which one pays the most money? And they said chemical engineering. So I chose chemical engineering. And it was tough. I'm not going to lie. It was a really, really tough. And one of the things I start talking about is hard work, teamwork, perseverance, prayer, lots of prayer, and then group support. And the teamwork part is one I was just going to really focus on as a student. When I was at Alabama, there were only like 17,000 students, at the university. I was there from 77 to 81. And there were only 17,000, and only 900 of us were of color. Okay. Wow. So we really, had to work together and say, I knew the football players, baseball players, basketball players, because we all knew each other, but again, you talk about teamwork and then supporting each other. It really took that for us to, sort of work through and get through the program. And we even used to go over to the math building, which was called, for the Alabama graduates here, they recognize the Palmer math field, Gordon Palmer. But anyway, we would go over there at 9 o'clock at night as a group and study and work together. We would work problems. A lot of times engineering, you have to stay on top of it. You can't wait till the night before. You got to be working day by day by day to get it done. So we would get in there, work problems, and then teach each other. Each one of us taught each other. And we said, these other kids aren't smarter than us. But we found out they actually had old tests. They had the old notes. They had years and years of knowledge or notes that we didn't have. So we had to develop and build our own up. But again, we were able to survive and help each other by the teamwork and networking and just, again, teach the teacher, each one teaching each other. So I really emphasize the teamwork part. I mean, a lot of times we want to kind of stand away and do our own thing, but we really have to work together. And this is my path. Okay, I started out as a junior engineer at a place in Houston called M.W. Kellogg, and I had about 3 job offers. And why did I choose M.W. Kellogg?
Pay more money.
Pay more money, exactly. Pay more money. And I would tell you, that is like, come on in, how are you? I'll tell you, that's not the reason to pick a job, you know, and I'm going to talk about that later. You know, pick something that you really love and passionate about. But I chose M.W. Kellogg because it paid more money. And I mean, it was a good start for me, but believe it or not, 3 months after I started in Houston, the market just went down. You know, there was send fuel projects. That's where you're going to make all the money. I was going to go overseas, make all this big money, and it just didn't happen. And they had bumper stickers in Houston: last person out, turn off the lights. That's how bad it was. You know,
Wow.
The market was really down. But fortunately, the company did not lay off or fire any of the junior engineers, because they said that would have been a bad black eye on the company, you know, after they recruited a student and then they turn around and lay them off. So I was able to stay there and able to transfer to another company, believe it or not, that was a sister company called Rust Engineering in Birmingham. And that's how I, you know, started off in Houston, going to make a lot of money, but I actually came back to Birmingham. So it all worked out at the end. And I worked as a design engineer, just doing design type work, then a design leader. And a design leader is a person who's still doing design engineering, but now I have a group underneath me working, and then progressed on from there to project engineer, project manager, and construction manager. So that's all various parts of a project. And then I got into business development. And you said, what in the world is business development? And that's a fancy name for sales, believe it or not, you know. And this was not part of my career path. I kind of had I'm real good about notes and goals and writing out how I wanted to go, but sales was never part of it. And the way I got introduced into sales was I was working a real tough project in Geismar, Louisiana. And we had a scope of work and we were trying to execute. And whenever the owner, if they deviate from that scope of work, you have to submit something called a change order, okay? Because now they're changing the design, they're changing the construction. There's a lot of changes and you have to be compensated for that, okay? So the owner was making these changes, but they didn't want to pay us. So I had to work with them, real difficult situation, prove that these changes cost X number of dollars. So I worked through all of that and it turned out to be a good project. But when I came back into the office, the vice president of sales said, you know, you're pretty good with customers. Why don't you go into sales? And I said, I don't hunt, I don't fish, I play a little bit of golf, you know, and he laughed. And he said, look, we do more than that in sales. But that was my perception of sales. And he said, why don't you try it? 6 months. If you like it, stay with it. If not, go back into operations. And so when I got into it, I realized, you know, it's more than just talking. You know, sales is really kind of listening, trying to figure out what the needs are of the customer, and then trying to match those needs with the resources that you have to provide, you know, the project or engineering design or construction project they want. But that's the way I got into sales and really enjoyed it. You know, I'm a people person, so it fit my personality, but that wasn't part of my path that I thought was my path. But again, you know, you got to be able to pivot, and you never know where God's going to lead you. He'll open up a door that you didn't even know that, you know, you need to go through. Right. But I've been doing that for over 20 years now and absolutely love it. And one of the benefits for me in sales, when I was in engineering construction, we would design, we would go to the job site. I'm on the job site 8-9 months, you know, and I come home on the weekends, and that's usually every other weekend. And then once we got close to startup, it might be every 3 weekends. When my girls were little, they'd see black man on TV and say, hey, that's daddy. You know, that's how bad it was. You know, I mean, it was, you know, it's bad. You know, as I said, I've been gone too long. And then once I got into sales, I still travel, but I'm able to control my schedule. If they had a track meet, you know, or they were young then, but anyway, if they had a ballet or some activity, I was able to attend because I could adjust my schedule in regards to meeting customers and making presentations. So again, that was a different door that God opened. So you just never know. So you just got to be able to go through it. And my title now is Vice President of Economic Development. And again, it's still sales, but it's called economic development because we're like the tip of the spear. A lot of these projects that are the state's trying to win, they have code names. You know, there's one or two right now, and looking at Huntsville, one's called cranberry sauce. You know, I mean, they have code names. One's called tonic water, and they give them these code names because they're negotiating with the cities and the states for incentives. So they want to make sure you have the workforce, have the right labor. You know, they're going to get so many tax breaks. So they have a code name so people don't know who's coming. But, you know, my job is try to get ahead of it. So I'm working with economic developers, working with the city leaders, you know, mayors, various economic development agents to try to find out about that project so we can be up there before it's even announced. Because if you get ahead of the game, you know, you're in a better position than waiting until it's announced in the paper. Usually when they're announcing the paper, it's too late. So that's what I do. I'm out there in sales, but again, the tip of the spear on the very front end of these projects.
How big is your company? Sales.
It's funny you should mention. I'm going to really get into that company overview. Our company's named Clayco, and we have Beyond the Walls. And we say Beyond the Walls is because we do more than just engineering design. You know, we're all about being a good community steward. We want to make the community better. We want to help try to lift up our employees. So it's all about it's beyond the walls. Wow. That's our mantra. And when you look at the company, we, well, before I get into it, I'm going to answer your question.
Oh, no problem.
Before I get into it, I'll talk about safety. This is so important in everything we do. I know the engineers and constructors know about it, but we always start our meetings with a safety topic because you want to go home safe. You want to make sure your workers are safe. And a lot of owners or the people you're working with, if you don't have good safety numbers, you know, they won't even let you get on to work. So safety is very important. And now the company, it's we have about 4,000 employees with 3,500 plus, but we have about 4,000 employees. We do about $6 billion a year, yes, which is pretty hefty. And this company was started in 1984. It's privately held, and I was telling Doc Rock earlier, it's really a unique company, and it's all about being a good community steward, doing good things. And our chairman was actually the campaign manager for President Obama both terms, you know, and we're building President Obama's well, we're the program manager for his presidential library now in Chicago. Wow. So again, that's pretty, you know, it makes you proud. And I'm going to talk about, you know, liking what you do, loving what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life. But, you know, when you work for a company like that and have a good reputation, it really makes you proud to work with them. And when y'all start interviewing, or, you know, if you think about making a career change or doing some things, when they're interviewing you, you interview them, you know, to make sure that the culture fits, you know, because the worst thing you can do is go into a situation where you're not happy. And when I talk to folks, you know, I'm trying to make sure that they understand our culture, you know, and we're kind of going down the same path, and that the people that you work with, the people you know, can get along with and have good rapport with. Our company buys lunch for everybody every day, 4,000 plus employees. And you said, why do you do that? And, you know, it's all about getting to know your fellow employee. You know, we'll sit there sometimes and talk about work, but then we have a TV where we're sitting there also watching the basketball at lunchtime right now during March Madness. But it's just building up a rapport, and you build up that trust where you kind of understand each other. And again, I talk about teamwork and helping each other out, and that's what it's all about. And then I have a few projects. You'll recognize some of these. And again, I'm very proud of the work that we've done. Y'all probably see the Blue Origin project. We've done about 6 projects with Blue Origin. That's the engine plant here in Huntsville. And we also just recently, this one was 400,000 square feet. We just completed a 200,000 square foot expansion with them. And I'm not going to get into a lot of details on them, but I'll just run through a few of these. Okay, Torrey Carbon Fibers in Decatur, Alabama. That's a carbon fiber facility. We're doing one. We did this one in Decatur, and we're also completing one in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And then this is a Gestamp plant in McCalla, Alabama. They're a tier 1 supplier to the automotive industry. This is a neat project. Golden Foods. That's a Golden Foods in Opelika, Alabama. And although it's called Golden Foods, they make ketchup, they make mayonnaise, they make soy sauce, all types of things you don't even think about. But that's a pretty big facility, 160,000 square feet right there in Opelika, Alabama. Continental Motors, they're a supplier in the aerospace industry. Blue Origin, the test facility. This was a really neat project. Back in the early days of the space program, they built a test station that was to test the Saturn V rockets. It was built in 1960s, where we renovated it for the Blue Origin's BE4 engine. And so we started that project in 2017, and it was a couple of years, but we basically rebuilt that full test stand where they test the BE4 rockets for Blue Origin.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then Dollar General Distribution Center in Bessemer, Alabama. The Cubes, this is a logistics type center in Bessemer. The children's Disney store, if y'all ever been to Fort Payne, I know it's considered the sock capital of the world, but they have a distribution store that we built there. And that's, just a sample of our projects. So, it makes you feel good when and this is just in Alabama. We have neat projects all over the country. Like I said, the one I'm really proud about is the Presidential Library for President Obama. And he showed up at the job site, I guess about 4 months ago. And he gave a little talk, and everybody said they were so pumped when he left, because he's just that kind of type of a motivational speaker. But career options, when you look at engineering, there's several types of engineering careers that you can get into. There's aerospace, which is really big here in the Huntsville area, architectural, biomedical, civil, chemical, computer, cyber. There's a cyber school here in Huntsville. It's one of the few in the country that's really, really, big, and that's the big profession. Everybody now is looking at cyber intelligence and computer programming. Then there's also electrical engineering and mechanical engineering. And then on the construction side, there's project superintendents, schedulers, estimators, electricians, pipe fitters, iron workers, crane operators, all types of professions there. And does anyone have any questions about what they do? You said, why do you need an estimator or a scheduler? When we build projects, we need to know what's the timing is going to be to get it designed and completed. And then when we bid these projects, sometimes they're lump sum, okay? And when it's lump sum, if it's a $100 million project and you bid 90, guess what? You're going to have to eat that 10 million, and then if you bid 110 million, it's too much, you're not going to win the project. So you got to have good estimators, good data to try to, bid that project properly. And, it's kind of interesting now because projects are, but it's hard. Prices of materials are really, going up and down. It's hard to get equipment. So a lot of times now you have target pricing and kind of negotiate that with the owner. So we're going to have a target price. If it goes above, we can share that risk 50-50. If it goes below, we share that savings, so there are creative ways now of contract negotiating. But anyway, that's, some of the careers or positions you can have in construction. And a lot of them are very similar on the manufacturing side. Production, maintenance, safety, health, environmental type projects, logistics and inventory, people, quality assurance, mechatronics. And although the engineering requires a 4-year degree, the construction and manufacturing doesn't necessarily require you to, have a 4-year degree. You can get an associate's degree, or you can even get a certification in a certain area. My brother's son, he, wanted to go into computer science. And, he stayed for about a year. He went to Troy, then he went to Alabama State. He said, it's just not for me, And so he had to find his passion, and he ended up getting a CDL license to drive a truck, 18-wheeler. And he has done so well. He's only 28 years old, and he's already making 6 figures, And he was working in Birmingham and doing a great job there. A company out of Dallas recruited him. And so he's now working in Dallas. He's got him a car. He's looking at buying a house, but again, he had to find his passion. You got to realize, just find your way. Where I'm going with that too is you don't have to necessarily spend a lot of money to get a 4-year degree. You can get associate's degree, you can get certification. There's just a lot of different areas. And the way you find out is networking, hopefully coming to hear people like me talk. And then a lot of times there are work fairs, career fairs. And a lot of times these companies, before they start their manufacturing operation, they will actually have a work fair or career fair just to tell you about the type of positions, and they will train you. So there are a lot of different, opportunities, but you just got to be willing to go out there, talk to people, ask questions. I can't emphasize asking questions and networking. And then this is what's really surprising. A lot of times I talk to students and parents, oh, construction's dirty, manufacturing's dirty. It's I don't want my kids in that type of environment, but it's really, pretty clean work nowadays. I mean, everything's computerized. It's not nearly like it used to be in the old days with the steel mills and the smokestacks and so forth. So it's very sophisticated and advanced. They call it advanced manufacturing. And so it's not a bad career if you're going to go into construction. And believe it or not, look at these statistics. 44% of the workforce is over 45. And I threw that up there because a lot of folks are going to be retiring in 10 to 15 years, so there are opportunities. And again, it's a really good career. And then on the other side, 7% of the workforce is under 25, which is surprising. You would think a lot of people will be getting into construction because it's a good opportunity, a good career, but people aren't choosing that path, So we're trying to get more people interested in construction and engineering. And then when you look at what's required, I talked about the associate degree and certification. 65% of the jobs only require an associate degree or advanced technical training. So there's some opportunities there. And very similar statistics for manufacturing. And I have a video. Let's see if we can make this work. We tested it earlier. Let's see here. Yes.
CCDI came into our school in 2015 after the Michael Brown incident.
Protesters of different ages and races demanding answers in the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Brown at the hands of a policeman.
What you're looking at is the aftermath.
During that time, there was a lot of financial issues. There was a lot of stuff going on in the area. CCDI said we need to do something to help the area grow and be better. CCDI, Construction Career Development Initiative. The training is apprenticeships, financial training, partnerships with companies that help get our kids ready for the work industry.
The Construction Career Development Initiative, or CCDI, brings diversity to the design and construction industry by mentoring and exposing minority, underrepresented, and underemployed men and women to career development in construction.
When I started, I was the only kid to do it. I wanted to be able to provide for my mom because at the time we both were like homeless and she was just getting up with cancer. So they presented me with an opportunity to say, well, why don't we put you through college if you work with us?
CCDI really helped groom me into the man I am today as far as helping me get that job placement and being able to see how the trades actually work. And then I also noticed how much diversity is needed in the trades.
Studies reveal a current demand for over 650,000 skilled tradespeople in construction. Yet some groups remain underutilized. CCDI takes a strategic approach, targeting historically underrecognized young adults as viable candidates to meet this growing demand.
I think it's important to have more diversity in the industry because it brings out more culture and everything to the industry, and particularly women. I think we're more particular about our work. If they want more good work, hire more women.
It's probably true. Very true.
I think it's very important for people like me to come back to CCDI just so we can get more kids into the trade.
There's a lot of other kids, that was in the same situation and environment that I was in growing up. So if I personally would have seen more people like myself coming back and showing me, okay, this is possible, I probably wouldn't have did a lot of the things that I did.
I love the guidance that comes to CCDI. I love that when you come to the different meetings, there's alumni there, and they were just in your position not too long ago, and they come back to give back to the community.
They can see themselves in each student that comes back, whether they're an electrician, a plumber, or anything. So I think that's the biggest thing, is having results on top of being able to have representation.
CCDI has opened the doors for thousands of students, unveiling a variety of career options within the industry. Beyond exposure, we've played a pivotal role in securing full-time employment for hundreds of students and young adults in trades careers. Additionally, we've empowered them to pursue higher education through scholarships, while ensuring access to reliable transportation and professional grade tools, dismantling barriers that hinder success.
And towards my senior year, I ended up getting an opportunity to intern at Clayco as a project manager in quality control. They also gave me a scholarship for construction management. And now I'm one of 3 MD paint companies in St. Louis, Missouri.
Now, like I heard, like kids are like,
Wow.
college is paid for, classes are paid for. They're able to help with transportation if you don't have a car. They'll help you get a car, help you get a loan.
With the Build Our Future scholarship, I didn't think college was an option. If I didn't fill out for that scholarship, I don't know where I'd be. For real.
And I feel like CCDI, they have a way for like, this is your destination. Here's the vehicle on how we can get you there. And that's the biggest thing, because when you know, okay, this is where I want to be and this is how I get there, it's great.
Oh, yeah, I want to do car keys. I want to build my own house one day. My future goals are definitely to become a carpenter right now, but I also have a backup plan to become an electrician. CCDI is a great program. It really cares about you. A lot of benefits you can get from it.
Even if it's not work-wise, as a person, if I have something personal going on, like they're there for you and they're genuine good people.
I think it's important for CCDI to exist because I didn't know anything about construction.
So I feel like it's great just being able to give kids opportunities to change their life around.
And I think it's important that you do catch them in high school and middle school to get them to join the unit or at least have them think about it.
I'm seeing stuff that most people really don't see before they get into the trade. Like I'm already seeing what it's like.
I'm a tech grad myself. Not having these opportunities in front of me, I want these kids to have what I didn't have. That's the reason why we do it.
And that's in St. Louis, but I talk about this program, but a lot of companies in this area even have programs like that. If you're interested in engineering or construction, they have these programs. You just got to ask, you got to network. And then AIDT, they're over in Tanner. They have various training programs, Drake Community College, Calhoun Community College. So there are a lot of resources, but again, you got to ask, got to network, and just see what's out there. And here I was just going to talk about paths to success. And I keep emphasizing networking. It's just so important, and you network at church, you network at events like this, you go to conferences and network, and that's how you learn, and then, with social media now you can share information with your friends, but networking is so important. I know a lot of times we as a people, we like, I don't want to go to that event. It's after hours, I want to be with my family and my friends. But, if you just stop by 15, 20 minutes, you'll be surprised what you might be exposed to. So you just need to be willing to go out there and at least talk to a person and ask some questions. Networking has kind of helped us when we built our database at school. We said, they got questions, they got the tests, they got answers. So we had to kind of infiltrate, the other groups that have that information and network and talk to them. But it's really important, just to network and talk to people. And I know we use a lot on the phone and so forth. I had a co-op and I'm in my office and he sends me a text and I'm like, I hollered out of my office. I said, come in here. Don't send me a text. Just ask me, talk to me. We don't talk enough. So I said, talk to me. What do you want to know? Let's just sit down and chat. And we just need to do more of that. And that's one reason, too, we do our lunches so people can talk, collaborate, just get to know each other, feel comfortable. So that, networking, communication is so important. And then goal setting is one I talk about. And I know you probably heard some of this before, but these are things that I think is really important. Back when I was first starting my career, I went to a conference and they talked about goal setting. And I actually have a notebook. I still have it today. And it's like, where do you want to be spiritually? Where do you want to be physically? Where do you want to be with your family? And I just say, I want to be here spiritually. I want to read my Bible 3 times a week. I want to do this. I want to do that. Where do you want to be physically? I want to exercise. I'm 64 years old. Dr. Rock gave me a compliment. So
Absolutely.
So I hope it is. But anyway, I work out. I try to stay in shape. Again, I have that in my goal. If you don't write it down, it's just a dream. But if you write it down, you look at your plan, you're going to try to, follow that plan. Do you want to lose weight or do you want to lose 5 pounds? You know, I always talk about goals have to be smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So you got to be specific about what you want to do. You got to be able to measure it, you know, and be realistic about it. And to me, SMART goals is the way to go. So I write things down. Even today, you know, I have a little sheet. I want to do this, this, this. And I taught my daughters the same way. So they have their little notebooks. Although they have a phone, they said, Dad, nothing beats having that little notebook with what I want to do. So just goal setting, it helps. It gives you a roadmap. And then find your passion. That is so important in life. You never know. I didn't know I was going to be in sales, but somehow I found my passion. It's important to have that purpose and passion. My barber, when I was a kid, he said, well, I love my job so much I do it for free. I'm like, free? It's crazy, you know, but you know, as I have gotten out and understand, yeah, I like what I do. I don't know if I do it for free, but I do enjoy it enough, you know, where I would you know, consider maybe doing it for free. But again, it's all about finding your passion, finding what you really love and like to do. And it's kind of funny. My roommate gave me a book, I guess about 2 years ago. I don't know if y'all have seen Sister Jean Loyola. I know March Madness is going on. You see the nun, the 100-year-old nun. She wrote a book, you know, Finding My Purpose, what I learned in my first 100 years. She's 103 now. And anyway, I read her book, and it's basically having a purpose in life. What do I get up for? You know, she's got a purpose. I want to get up. I want to go out and see the students. You know, she's 103. She still goes out on campus just to say hello to the students, give them a little inspiration. But it's all about finding your passion and your purpose. I've talked about teamwork, how important that is. Communications, that's really important. And confidence. You know, you know, we talk about shaking somebody and shaking their hand and looking them in the face. You know, you got to be confident about what you do. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but these are things that I have found to help be successful. And you go and you shake somebody's hand and you look them in the eye, you know, they exude a type of confidence and they believe you. This guy has his stuff together. He knows what he's doing. But if you go in there, you got your head down and looking like that, you know, what's this guy's all about? You know, what are you all about? You know, so that's really important. You know, sometimes they say, what is it? It's pie, performance, gosh, I threw that out there. I didn't have that scripted, but it's all about the perception, you know, and people hear, you know, probably about 10% of what you say, but they look at your appearance and, you know, and how you project yourself, you know, believe it or not, you know, they probably not know everything you said or remember everything you said, but they remember, man, that guy had confidence. He looked like he knew what he was talking about. You might be blowing smoke, but you exuded confidence, you know, that's part of it. I hate to say it, that's part of it, you know. And then good attitude. And I know Doc Rock has written the God Attitude. I hope y'all read the book. I read it. It's really good. And it's so important, you know, about having a good attitude. I tell the story about interviewing a person that was going to be working as a brick mason, working on a church, and asked the guy, you know, why do you want this job? He said, well, be making $20 an hour. Pretty good to me. You know, again, he's all about the money. Ask another guy, why do you want the job? He said, I'm building a church. You know, it's going to be marveled by people that you're going to look, and I'm going to have so much pride in what I do. Now, that's the kind of attitude that you want. You know, it's all about positive attitude, good attitude. I mean, it shows off in your work. It shows off in the people you talk to. So that is so important. And then accountability. We're all going to make mistakes. You know, I had a sticker once that said, put some failure into the world. You know, if you're not failing, you're not trying. That's right. You know, so you're going to make mistakes. Own it. You know, yeah, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, but we're going to do about it, you know. And I actually had emotional intelligence behind that because we made mistakes. I remember on a project, this guy came into my trailer on a job site and he was furious. He was slamming his head down. He was swearing. And he said, we got a problem. And I said, we do. Okay, let's figure out how we're going to work through it. Okay, let's look at a solution and just systematically find a process that's going to get us through this problem. So you got to be accountable, own your problem, and then have emotional intelligence. And you said, what is that all about? And that is so important today. You know, people talk about mental issues and the stress that we have, but you got to understand your own emotions, what pushes you, how you deal with situations, and then how someone else deals with situations. If I know Doc Rock's going to blow up, if I look at him wrong, you know, I'm going to treat him a little differently, you know, or we're in a meeting, you know, I'm going to, you know, you just got to understand people. And that's part of that emotional intelligence, know your own emotions, how you react, you know, how others react. And that's really big, not just in the workplace, but also in life. And then the last thing, prayer. I can't talk about prayer enough. You know, I pray all the time, you know. I prayed even just coming over here, you know, just give me the peace. I hope y'all's ears are open enough to hear what I'm saying. I hope I don't sound stupid, you know, but it's just about just being open, you know. But I pray about small things, big things, everything, you know, and all prayers aren't going to be answered, but there's a reason, you know, you just got to have faith, you know. And so those are the things I think are the path to success. And the next thing I talked about was just mantras. What I had this out. I think I've already talked about resources to success. So, but the next thing was called a mantra. And a mantra is a word or phrase repeated frequently as a person's basic belief. And like I've been in situations where, you know, just, boy, this is bad. And I just draw on a serenity prayer, you know, and just think about that. Or, you know, have a mantra, healthy, happy people do not let the outside world bother them. You just have something in your mind that's going to help you get through a situation where you just don't blow up. You said, let me think about my mantra. What am I going to do? You know, work every day at something you love. You can see it, you can be it, you can dream it, you can make it, you know, just little things like that. And then my biggest one is peace and joy. I'm not going to let anybody steal my joy, you know. So a lot of times just say peace and joy, you know, to myself, just to stay calm, you know. But again, that's what your mantra is. And y'all heard Larry the Cable Guy?
Yeah.
Get her done. You know, that's his mantra. Get her done. You know, so we all have mantras, you know, what's gonna work for you. Okay. And that's really, I think, all I have. So if y'all have any questions, you know.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you ever see yourself from where you were in high school to where you are now?
No, never. I did not. Just again, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what was out there. You know, my previous company, well, my company now has a private plane, but when I was in Birmingham, you know, I would be on the private plane. I remember sitting on the plane, man, I never thought I'd be on a jet, you know, going to projects and so forth. So no, I had no idea, you know, where I would be and, you know, what door was going to open for me, you know, but I believed in myself. You know, I knew what I liked, but I just did not know.
How does it feel to now be at the age you are now and obviously have done what you've already done and obviously continue to do that? How does it feel when you take that step back to look back at it?
Yeah, it feels good, you know, and I feel like I've accomplished something, but at the same time, the thing I like is I hope I'm opening and helping open doors for others as well. You know, I always tell people, I talked to students last Thursday and Friday, and I just say, I want to make your cold call a warm call. If you see somebody on LinkedIn or somebody that's connected to me and you don't know them and say, hey, I want to try to get in and have a job with them, or at least talk to them about a business situation, just ping me a note. It doesn't take but a second to send a note and say, hey, I want you to talk to my friend here. Or this is someone I met, you know, a couple of years ago, and just try to help open that door. So that's what I feel is my whole purpose. When I joined Clayco, I've only been with Clayco 2 years, and they asked me, why do you still want to work at your age? No joke. You know, when guys ask me that, and I said, because I love what I do, and it's all about trying to open doors and connect dots. I think I have a bigger reach, you know, still working, you know, and talking to people than I would if I was just, you know, sitting at home and playing golf or, you know, doing nothing. But I think that's all part of it, just trying to reach out and help and network. What question you have?
You know, Milton, you was the chairman of the board for the Alabama Community College system,
right?
Which is how did you get to that position? I mean, it's not a small thing to be the chairman of, you know, over every community college in this state.
You're
how did you
right.
get there? What happened?
It's kind of interesting. It's all, you know, I talk about networking and relationships, and I've always been that type of person. And I belong to various organizations, Manufacture Alabama, Economic Development Association of Alabama, and just developed a rapport with people. You know, I go back to, I think Seth Hammett was a speaker of the House back then, and I met him at Manufacture Alabama and just developed those relationships. George Clark, who's the president of Manufacture Alabama, we developed that relationship. So develop a relationship, have that friendship, and then when these particular positions open, they'll say, and I did not know I knew of the governor, but did not know her personally, but these individuals did. And they said, have you thought about, you know, maybe reaching out to Milton Davis and asking him to serve on the board, you know? And so the governor actually called and said, hey, your name was recommended, you know, to serve on this community college where we want somebody, we want somebody with integrity, because, you know, the community college system of Alabama has had some trials and tribulations, you know. So they said, we want someone to help look at the board, see if we can make some changes, do some things together. We had a lot of interim presidents. Let's get some permanent presidents in. Let's look at policies. Let's look at procedures. But again, it all came about because of my network and the people I had met, the relationships I had created, and then me as a person. They saw me as a person that, you know, had integrity, that was going to do the right thing, and that's how I was exposed to it. And you know, and then when they asked, you know, I had to think about it, because it was a job in a job. I had my regular job, but then we had to put policies, procedures, and everything in place, and it took a lot of work, you know. And I will say, though, when you had the opportunity to join a board and organization, it's a great training ground. You know, I was good at that job, serving that board, because I had worked in other positions, you know, working as a NESB in a group there, working on the chemical engineering board, you know, serving in leadership positions, learning how to interact with people, learning how to problem solve, learning how to ask questions. So, you know, join some of these smaller boards, that's your practice ground, you know, and learn. And then from there, it will help you open other doors or be prepared when you are asked to maybe serve in that capacity. Thank you. Yes.
What would you give somebody that might want to apply for a job in engineering? They have a degree but not necessarily experience. Would you just tell them to go for it, or?
Oh, absolutely. You know, because a lot of times, you know, although you might have the engineering degree and they teach you a certain way, you really learn on the job. You know, a lot of companies have their own way of doing things. So yeah, that engineering degree teaches you how to study, how to problem solve, and then you take that skill set and then turn around and use it, you know. And my thought Rock, he probably graduated magna cum laude, summa cum laude. I was wondering if I graduated thank you laude. I had to pray, you know, I got out, you know, pray, you know, but what I'm saying is, you know, once you get that position, you're learning, and then you ask people, who's the senior person, what are they doing? And people genuinely want to help you. And when you're designing things, they're not going to just take your design and say, okay, he's ready, let's go, you know, put this man on the moon based on this design. They have people, there's checks and balances. There's folks going to check your designs. If they see things wrong, they're going to question you, going to help and coach you. So the answer is yes, go for it. And there are people going to help, you know, navigate and help you on the way.
Thank
you. Yes, sir.
What advice do you have for driving more sales?
To drive sales, be persistent. I mean, you have to, I don't know, are you selling services or?
It's pretty much a service. Yeah.
Services, yeah, you just got to be persistent. And then networking, you know, I don't know what your service is, but for me, I'll go to a conference and I'll work a floor. You know, I mean, I'm there talking to folks at every booth. What do you have? You know, what's coming up? You know, who do you know? And you just got to put in the old-fashioned footwork, as they say, and just see what's going on, and then try to connect dots. You know, if you're selling services, I don't know if it's construction or engineering.
It's electronic
services. Yeah, just try to find out, like, if this manufacturing facility is coming to town or you hear about it, you know, see if you can talk to the leader who's there and get with the decision maker. Because you can spend a lot of time with a person that's not making the decisions, and you got to try to navigate and find out who that decision maker is. And sometimes it might be another person that has a connection. Like, I use LinkedIn a lot. and I try to sit, and I'll go on LinkedIn and say, okay, who's the decision maker? Who's the VP? Okay, this is the VP, so he's making decisions about procurement. And then I say, okay, who are his connections? Okay, he knows this person, I know that person, or he knows someone at that company, I know someone at that company, and then just sort of work it that way. And then it's almost like a game. I love the chase, the challenge. So you have to kind of connect the dots and find out how to navigate and work your way in.
Would you recommend door knocking of an organization?
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, I mean, it just depends. Hunt refining, I was determined to get in hunt refining. And that was one of the biggest projects I sold, was $1 billion project. And guess how I got that? I would go to the gate. They wouldn't even let me in. So I came and hey, no joke, I brought the guard some donuts. And I said, hey, I want to meet the engineering manager. Can you help me get in? And I did that for almost 6 months, and I eventually got in there. And then I placed one person on that job site. He was like an owner's rep. Then I got a small project, and the guy, we developed a relationship, and he said, Milt, I really like you. You worked hard to get in here, And then when that big project came, he called on me and he said, I want you guys to do my project. And it was $1 billion project. But again, it was just persistence.
$1 billion with a B.
A billion with a B. Yeah, but it was just persistence. I just would not take no for an answer. I said, I'm gonna keep going, and find a way to get in. Those donuts were Krispy Kremes. I mean, hey, it worked, and I would give him Krispy Kremes, and I said, take this to the engineering manager. And I had my little qualifications in there, what we could do for him, and eventually, just kept pegging until it opened that door for me. Yeah, and then at the same time now, sometimes, you got to know what to say. It's time to back off, because you can be too pushy. But people have told me you getting right there. When you'll know, how far to push and when to back off. And you can call a person, leave messages, but again, you don't want to have 100 messages. You don't want to fill up their answer machine. So you just got to kind of play it by ear, and you know who you can be persistent with, and just find a way to get in.
Okay.
What would you say to someone that did a lot of iron work, like construction, for a long time, and now want to go into like the engineering, like corporate world? Do you advise that they rely on the experience that they've had for so many years, or should they like kind of go back to school and like kind of go like that route to like
that experience means a lot, and if they have the management skills, it should be an easy transition. If it requires, some kind of special accounting or financial, background, yeah, you have to take a course. But if you've worked in industry and have the experience and you know how to manage people, you know how to look at operations, that experience is worth more than, that book experience, because people say 5 years in the field is equivalent to like 1 year of sitting in the office. You learn so much in the field with managing people, looking at schedules, making sure that everything's done with quality, so you don't necessarily have to go back to school. It just depends. You got to know what type of position it is. If someone would tell you got to have these particular skill sets. I got my PE license because I missed out on an opportunity to be an engineering manager. I wanted to manage a department, but you had to be a registered professional engineer. I didn't know that at the time, so I went back. It was important to me, and I got my PE license. Then when I got it, I went in there, said, hey, I'm ready. And he said, good for you. Congratulations. It didn't open that door for me because I missed out. But if there was another opportunity that's going to come up, I was going to have the credentials. So you got to know what credentials are required, and then just do what it takes.
What would you say to somebody that is trying to like? What was the hardest transition from like being in the field to now like in the office? Like that transition, the culture is kind of different.
Yeah,
like what would be like the biggest takeaway or advice when they're trying to transition over to that?
Yeah, if you you got to understand the culture, see what it's like in the office, and I'll give an example. One guy, he loved being in the field, and we got in the office. The first thing the manager said, "Look, you got to cut that ponytail. You got to get rid of the beard. So it's a different. Sometimes it's just a cultural thing, how you look, and how professional you are. It's a different type of environment. So you got to understand that environment, and then just see what it takes to make that transition. It should, if you really want to, go into the office, it should be an easy transition because you kind of know what it takes and you've already decided that that's what you want to be or what you want to do. And now we've had a guy in the office. He said, I hate being in the office. I can't stand it. And he was a civil engineer. And he said, I'd rather be out in the field as a project superintendent. So he he preferred to go on job sites and then just manage the job from the field, because that was his nature, that he knew, he understood his, you know, his purpose of what he liked to do. So that's why I said, find your passion, find what you like to do. You know, if you are an outdoor person, don't force your way into the office. You know, I personally, I like being out in the, you know, sales, making calls, being on the road. You know, I can't stand sitting in the office. I'm in the office usually on a Monday or Friday doing expense reports or for those mandatory meetings on Monday. But I like being out there knocking on doors, trying to find opportunities. You talk about sales, that you got to spend some time out there. You can't just sit on the phone and, you know, call people. You know, you might make 100 calls and maybe get 1 or 2, but you got to get out there and talk and meet people. That's how you get it done.
Was you not in Huntsville earlier this week? I mean, you texted me.
Yeah, I was in Huntsville. What's today?
Today's
Tuesday. Oh no, I was in Huntsville last week.
I mean,
yeah, last week. And I was in Huntsville last week. There's a here we go with code names. Project Apollo. It's a big battery plant, solid state battery plant that's coming. And so I was in the city meeting with the city's economic development manager. He works for the mayor, and we were talking about projects, talking about how we can position ourselves to get that work.
Oh, good. I know about the project.
Yeah.
I saw the chamber board back.
Okay, so you know Shane Davis.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I know the project.
Okay. Oh, you know the project too. Okay.
Hi, I'm trying to let all the young people answer. But I would love to hear, okay, so here you are where you are now. But as a chemical engineer, I know that this wasn't on the landscape with all the sales that you're doing.
Right.
When that was presented to you, tell me how you made that transition in your mind. Did they just train you to do that? There had to be a switch.
Yeah, there was training. Yeah, and like I said, I told him I thought it was all, you know, fishing, hunting, golfing, you know, and when you told me that's not it. So I had to learn how to be a salesperson, because I was an engineer. I'm used to solving problems. So I would go in and knock on the door, and you got a project you want me to build. I'm sitting there telling you what to do, and that's not what they want to know. You know, you got to find out, what do you want? You know, I might think I know, but I got to find out, is that really what you want? So the biggest thing I had to learn how to do is listen. You know, and stop running my mouth. You know, listen, selling is not just pushing your story. You got to find out what their needs are and then try to match your resources to their needs. You know, somebody told me a story once. You go to dinner with a lunch with a customer and you sit down and your plate's still full and theirs is empty. You're talking way too much. You know, you got to give them a chance to talk and tell you what they want. And then a lot of times that first sales call, it's not even about selling your product or finding out. You just got to develop that relationship. You know, it's almost like dating. You know, you got to develop a relationship, develop that trust. You know, make sure they, you know, have some kind of semblance of believing in what you're talking about and trusting in what you're talking about. You know? But I say it wasn't just boom, I'm in sales, I flipped the hat. And then in addition to that, I did have some training. You know, they taught me how to write proposals. You had to learn how to write proposals, how to look at a contract. You know, I looked at it from an operations standpoint, which is a little different in sales. You have NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Like Doc Rock, he can't talk about Project Apollo. He knows who the customer is up there.
I do.
Yeah, I figured he did. But he has an NDA, so he can't talk about it. So you got to be real confident. I mean, keep the confidentiality of those deals done. But there was training, you know, and even if you were coming from the field to the office, there's going to be some training there as well. At our company, we have onboarding. You know, when you come on board with us, we bring you into the St. Louis office. You have 3 days of onboarding where they're talking to you about HR, about how to fill out a timesheet, how to fill out an expense report, talk about all the various divisions in the company, talking about our culture, just so you'll get to know, you know, what we're all about, and it helps you make that transition. So most companies will have that. And then if they don't, you know, you start asking the questions. Just don't sit back and don't ask, you know, ask the questions and just try to find out what's required and what their culture is and what the needs are. And you're a medical doctor?
I am.
That's great. My daughter, I pushed both of my girls to be technical, and my oldest has an engineering degree, and she went on to med school. And she said that engineering helped her to study, you know, and process, problem solve, you know, as opposed to just memorizing. You know?
Yeah, but I'm transitioning to sales.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Here in your transition,
Okay.
kind of was, I wanted to see if you were dealing with some of the things I've had to deal with. When you got used to what you're doing and you had the confidence in that,
Right.
now you're dealing with something else entirely different.
Right.
It becomes becoming vulnerable
Right.
and becoming humble.
Yes.
And learning.
Yeah, you're right. And I tell you too, there are times when I knew we had the best team, had the best, engineers, and they still did not pick us, and they picked somebody, they might have been a little bit cheaper than us, or they just completely missed the scope. But, you got to just dust yourself off, get back up. And I was back in front of that customer next day trying to do a debrief, tell me where we missed out, And in this particular case, this company bought the job, and they end up losing money. So it was, I felt good about what I'd done, what I offered. And then when the next opportunity came, they came to us because they trusted us, knew what we were doing. So sometimes you're going to lose, but you got to stay. You can't just, I'm mad with them, I'm never going to talk to them again. You can't have that attitude. You just got to get back in front of them, get that debris, talk about what you can do, and position yourself for the next one. And when the next one came around, they didn't even talk to those other guys, and they trusted us because we had even told them there are gaps in your, proposal. This is what we think you need, and other folks saw it. And so they went on and said, oh, well, I'm going to get them later. Yeah, they did have to pay that, but it still bit them in the end because it was more than they had said the job was worth. Yes, sir.
You ever do proposals for government?
I have not, but I know they're really tough. Yeah, there are certain regulations around, government proposals. And from what I understand, it's all about dotting the I's and crossing the T's. It's not always even about the money. You just got to make sure you got to follow their procedures to the book, and make sure you do things according to the way they have it spelled out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm working on my first one.
Okay, yeah. And ask somebody, if you know someone else that has done them, reach out to them and just ask the questions, because I hear they're just really specific and making sure if you don't have an I dot or a T cross, they'll throw it out from what I understand. So you just got to make sure you follow the letters of what they request and just complete it, and give them exactly what they want.
Milton, I guess we got time for a couple more questions if you will.
I have time.
Okay. You've been an African American man. You said your age, so I can say it. 64. What are some of the major challenges you've had to aspire to the place that you're at now? Because you had to have some challenges being an African American.
Oh yeah, I've been challenges. And
how did you get over them?
Yeah, well, again, faith. Sometimes you just got to sit there and pray. And I've had times where I'm just pinching myself, like, man, don't let me go off on him. But people really will say, oh, the angry black man. So you got to, again, you got to know yourself, and be able to control your emotions and just deal with those situations. There are times when I've had some challenges, and sometimes you have to go to the supervising or managing person and have that conversation. And then other times you can just sit there and talk to the person. Look, man, I don't know where you're coming from, but let's have this discussion. You don't know me, I don't know you, but what you're saying is wrong. And sometimes people don't even know. They're saying things that are inappropriate. It just doesn't even register, and you have to tell them this is not appropriate. I'm listening to you, and we're having a conversation. If you say that to so-and-so, they might go off on you. It's going to be a whole different type of conversation. So, there have been challenges like that. There have been times when I felt like I've been passed over on promotions and opportunities, but you got to pick yourself up and keep going. You just can't dwell on it and let it eat you. You just got to find a way. And sometimes you just got to find another job. I've done that too, where I just said, boy, the one company I was at, I loved. Then another company bought them, and the whole culture changed. And it was just not the same company. And people told me, said, Milt, your personality changed, because I was just all uptight, it just wasn't the same. And so I realized it was not a good situation, and it was not going to change. So for me, I had to navigate and find something else to do. So sometimes you have to make that change on your own, but I've had lots of different situations, and But I don't do anything without praying, So just make sure you guide me over my mind and make sure I go down the right path. And sometimes when I think I'm trying to do what I think I need to do, it's usually the wrong thing. But if you believe it or not, God talks to you, and He'll let you know where you need to go and what you need to do. And I try my best to be open-minded and just listen. And we were trying to hire a secretary in our office in Birmingham, a good Christian lady. I loved her. We were in temporary space at our other building, and we wanted her to come join us. And she had just gotten a promotion in December at her company, and we were trying to hire her in January. And she said, Milt, I love the group. I know all of your people, but I prayed over it. It just doesn't feel right. These people like me. They promoted me, and I just don't think it's the right thing for me to do. And she would have done well at our company, but she was comfortable where she was, and she prayed over it, and God just told her, this is not the time for you. So again, you just got to listen and open your heart and pray over things.
One more question? Right.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. In your SMART acronym, it was specific, measurable. What was the A?
Specific, measurable, attainable. Okay. And then either relevant, and then timely. Okay.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, but attainable, if you sit there and say, I'm going to be a billionaire, I mean, and then you don't have the steps. It's got to be specific, measurable. You got to have a path, but attainable. You got to be realistic about your goals, And I'm not saying you can't be a billionaire, but again, you can put that out there and say, okay, but the timely part, will I do it next week? No. Will I do it maybe in 10 years? Yeah, that could happen, So again, that T part, that timely part is really important as well. I'm going to lose 25 pounds in, 3 days. That ain't going to happen. I'm going to lose 25 pounds in 6 months. Okay, yeah, that's attainable. That's timely. So that's what it is. Okay, sure.
All right, let's give Mr. Davis a hand.
Awesome. We have thoroughly enjoyed you, and just great information. Appreciate your sacrifice coming and talk about just connections. I met Milton through Dr. Chuck Carr, Dr. Carr, who's the president of UAH. And Chuck and I was, I think it was in DC or somewhere. He said, Doc, I got somebody that you need to meet. Y'all gonna like each other. Y'all a lot alike. And him and Milton been friends for a long time. And Chuck used to be the dean of the School of Engineering there at Alabama. And so, just kind of put us together. And I drove down to Birmingham. We had lunch together. Found out, a guy in his office who was Dr. Dale Smith, who's a friend of mine, who he knows. It's a small world once you start talking to people and open yourself up to people, and I want to talk about Project Apollo. I know about it. Didn't know he knew about it, but we'll talk about it later. But small world, small world, big deal. Yeah. Small world. So you have to get out there and talk. You have to go to various events, conferences, church, things of nature. One thing I am going to say, and I'm glad you said it, because many times I say, I'm where I'm at because God. And people, they see the preacher hat on me, so, and not the businessman. And so they're like, oh, but you being a businessman who's saved, saying that it's pretty powerful. And I'm glad you did say that. In my case, I tell people all the time, even when I'm in secular companies, where I say, hey, I'm where I'm at because of my relationship with God. And I mean that, and I say that. I say it wherever I go. So, but appreciate you. Next month, we are going to be talking about emotional intelligence. I'm going to do emotional intelligence seminar for you all next month. I know that. I know you did. next month. And of course, I do that all over. Those kind of things. Matter of fact, doing one this month for utilities. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to talk to people, how to have conflict resolution, how to control your emotions and those type of things. And because people, it's a proven fact that people are successful not based on their IQ, but based on their EQ. I always say if people are successful based on their IQ, we wouldn't have people with PhDs sleeping on the bridges.
but it's based on your emotional intelligence. Those who are watching, hopefully you got something out of this, and it's just been good. Did y'all get something out of it tonight? Oh, good, awesome. Let's put your hands together. Thanks, we are going to do we used to do a group photo, if you don't mind, and everybody come up as a group, and we'll do a group photo, and put this over here so get it out the way. You stand in the middle. You stand right here. Yeah. You know, yeah, come get a group photo.
This where you go.
Yeah, those. Yeah, government contract. Dot the I's, cross the T's. Yeah, we got a couple people. Dr. T, come on here tonight. Come on. You the advisor tonight. I call Brandon and Marcy. Come in here. You're advisor. You're advisor.
All right, y'all.
You got a little. You got a little. Yeah.
Engineer.
Engineer.
Have my hands on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And y'all know how I do it. That's not going to be it. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3, and smile. Wonderful. Thank you.
So you know you're over 40 when you say 1, 2, 3 because they don't say 1, 2, 3. They take the picture. I'm like, oh, come down. Yeah, you got to shut them all right. All right. See y'all later. Marvelous Monday. Mr. Norm, he reading the book. Today is Terrific Tuesday. See y'all later. Nika, good seeing you. Good seeing you, CJ, Brianna, Kristen, all y'all, BJ, whoever's on. Whoever. Love y'all. Next month, emotional intelligence. Don't want to miss it. We will have a handout that you can get. So I will send a handout to you all on the group meet, so you'll have it as people in the class will have it. Okay, talk to you later.